Okay. Hello, everyone. This episode shall be known as the 13% battery life lecture, 12% now. I'm going to go as far as it goes, and it's a coffee shop Wi-Fi episode. That means not only does my laptop have no battery, right, but also I'm using, coffee shop Wi-Fi. But it's -8 here in Toronto, Canada, and this seems to be, a survival strategy for podcasters to give talks in their cars. But anyways, I wanted to talk about this idea, raging souls at the end of time. I don't know what it was about today, but I have felt this intensity from the beginning of the day where I don't know how to say it. It's as if like just this intensity, okay? Just from the beginning of today, I've just felt this intensity and this sort of rage where for this episode I thought of, okay, how can I talk about it? And this sentence, raging souls at the end of time, it felt to me like a being in a situation where there is a challenge and it is left into being like its ultimate, how would I say it? There is this thing, I don't know it accurately. I mean, I could look it up, or I'll just tell people to go look it up. Go look up this idea of yugas, Y-U-G-A, in Vedic thought. And so they see a sort of cyclical, pretty much there's different yugas. In different yugas, the type of being that is present in the world is different. We are right now, if I remember correctly, we are in Kali Yuga, which lasts for 430,000 years. And so after this, like we are experiencing maybe like the lowest level of let's say divine, I shouldn't say lowest level of divine manifestation, but what I'm trying to tell viewers is that just like human beings, the human being changes, the nature of the world changes. Just like there's seasons to the manifestation of the cosmos in Vedic mythology. Okay, we are in one of those seasons where it's the most amount of ignorance of a, let's say, spiritual being. We're in that phase of human history. I shouldn't say human history, in the history of creaturehood in the cosmos. Granted, Vedic thought goes a completely different approach. What I mean by this is that time is different if you are a creature which is instantaneously being. I don't know what it is, but often I've had this feeling that something great is going to arrive on this planet. And whether it's, extraterrestrial life or whether it's new terrestrial life, to me, believe it or not, like, if we had a room and we put like a human being and we put an alien in it, and we told the human being to make an alien noise and the alien made its own alien noise, it's like we wouldn't be able, if we couldn't see which creature's in the room, we couldn't tell, right? We couldn't tell in some sense, is it alien or human, right? But anyways, what can I say with, I don't know, what is it, 9% battery life? Like, this is the shortest episode ever. Actually, it's not the shortest episode ever. I think I gave a talk that was a minute, like early on.
Like the blanket. Like the blanket.
Sorry guys, people are going to be like, his laptop has like 10% battery and like half the lectures on mute. Honestly, what can I say? Raging souls at the end of time. I don't know. Pretty much we're this creature with a potential, and the circumstances of life are bringing out our potential. I remember seeing this interview long time ago. This kid had made a documentary for Vice, and this Indian kid had gone into this like mountain region in India where all the yogis gather around, all the sadhus and yogis who like roam the mountains in search of enlightenment and whatnot. All these sadhus and sadhus and yogis. I think I just created a new word, sadogi. Pretty much this kid goes to this, what do you call it? He goes to this gathering of yogis, and they're all taking soma and whatnot. Like Agori yogis are there, different, worshippers of Shiva, Krishna, Vishnu, all the different, avatars, right? And so this kid goes and asks these yogis, and to be honest, in the video, they're all high, right? So he goes and asks the yogi, and he says, what is this life, right? And the yogi drops like the spiritual guy act, and he just looks at the kid, and he says, this is all entertainment for the gods, okay? What does this mean? This means that when we look at superior intelligence, we see examples of it being used by superior intelligence, okay? I remember I saw an America's Got Talent audition, and in that audition, this very attractive woman came on stage, and she had like dogs and cats, and the dogs and cats, she was a animal trainer, right? And the animals would listen to her, right? And when the animals would listen to her, the crowd would in some sense clap, right? So when I think about the human intelligence, when I ask myself, could there be a potential that human beings are we are like animals, just like how we see lesser species, could we be the lesser species to types of intelligence that surpass individualism? I don't know. I have this feeling that the purpose of human existence is not just to exist, and it's not just emotional gratification. You know what it feels like? It feels like we are 8 billion telepathic crew members of Spaceship Earth. Raging souls at the end of time. It's pretty much, poetically, the Eternal's dance, the eternity's last dance, there is something that's going to happen. Let me tell the viewers what's going to happen. Okay. I do not claim to be a fortune teller or anything like that. I am someone who looks at the geometry of something that is present, and my mind probabilizes how that geometrical shape will move. When I look at the human species, what's going to happen is that there is something that the human being is not being given, is not being allowed. Certain things that are not authorized psychologically in 2022, in 100 years, they will be authorized. Okay, and this will take the human being to levels where it has to consider, it has to, in some sense, redesign or restructure its morality system. Okay, we are creatures that are in a cosmological universe the cosmological design is pretty much, you could think of the earliest cells on the surface of the planet. When the sun comes out, the cells, just like how religious people, put their hands in prayer, like towards the sky, right? Or imagine ancient Egyptians that worship the sun. Like the smallest cells are all in awe of the light that pulls them beyond themselves. So to be honest, we are creatures where I say we're in a world where there's the on-off switch effect. We have been sculpted by dualistic by a dualistic cosmological context to have a dualistic psychology. The human being is reaching a certain point where it's wondering, okay, if I identify not as my personality, which is where my individualism comes from, which is my point where I separate myself from the world. If I am an energetic being, how can energy be separate from energy? You see, it's about dimensions. The era of the multidimensional human being is arriving, or we're already in it. And what this means is that we are going to work with perspectives and perceptions that our ancestors could not contain in the context of their lives. This idea of raging souls at the end of time, pretty much if somebody says, why is the soul here, you are tasked with putting a context to this life force. Okay? What really knowledge is the ability of a human being to find the correct context to how they are experiencing their life in the present. Okay? When it comes to the context being multidimensional, something strange will happen. What will happen is psychological fragmentation will increase, but this psychological fragmentation will be stabilized by the discrimination of where a sense of self is projected. When I'm speaking right now, my sense of self is projected internally. That's where these words are coming from. They're coming from an inner film behind my eyes. Okay? But when it comes to the outer realms and outer self, that's the self that I don't have to conjure. It's the self that I don't have to invoke. I don't have to put it there. You see, the thing about the free will is that the universe wanted us to become responsible for it. But the thing about the collective will and the divine will is that the universe is responsible for itself. Human beings may think of it this way. I think it was Nikola Tesla. Let me read this quote from Tesla. Tesla vibration code. This is a very important quote. I think it's authenticated, but anyways, I'll read it for the viewers. Nikola Tesla says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so what I'm trying to tell people is this makes incredible sense, but not on a physical level only, right? Sure, on a physical scale, there's the electromagnetic spectrum. We can't see certain things. For example, what is it like? Snakes see in infrared, dogs see in black and white. Like, I don't know, cats are freaks. I'm joking though. I love cats, even though I don't own one. But I'm a type of person who I love when other people have pets. But anyways, this thing about vibration, frequency, what I'm trying to say is that the individual consciousness of the human being, it's a certain vibration. Our bodies are allowing us to experience ourselves individual first so that the collective becomes non-conscious. Okay? But in the future, the human mind will be advanced. And what is part of the advancement of the human mind is the expansion of the scope of responsibility. If you look at most people are in their own world. And this is the biggest turnoff, I think, personally. Personally, it's like, I would say I have spoken to a lot of people, and one thing I ask myself is does this person see more than their own world, or does this person not? And when I notice that a person doesn't understand that the moment can have values beyond how they're seeing it, that's a sort of ideological possession. And this might not be a nice thing to say, but I'll say it to every human being on this planet, that we are in an era of language worship, and ideological systems are possessing the opportunity our free will has to move. So whoever you are, there may come a time in your life where you will wonder who you are. And that question is going to make you wonder what the world is. And once you wonder about what the world is, you're going to realize it's very similar to a multiplayer online game. Every person has their own screen. Our minds are imagine a bunch of kids playing a multiplayer online game. Each kid is in their own room with their own computer screen, and yet they have access to a collective reality. To be a human being is very similar in the sense that we have our own screen. Certain yogis call it the screen of pure consciousness. But what it is that your mind is the screen of the video game, where poetically the soul that is not pixelated is playing the game. Okay, but when you are in the game as a character, when you log into the multiplayer online game, or similarly when you wake up in the morning and you log in to a multiplayer elemental reality, okay, it's up to you to choose how to play the game and to wonder why you're playing it. And I will say something which I think this is the secret behind abundance in this world. I think the secret for abundance in this world it is when you realize that beyond physiological values there is a psychological value. Okay, and it's not that God has, if somebody has a religious context, if you look at it from the religious lens, it's not that God has created something just to give it hell to see if it works properly. Okay, it's not. That's not it. It's in some sense. Imagine you're in. I shouldn't humanize this. This is just, think of it this way, as I'm just this philosopher thinking about theology. Okay, but it's this view that imagine an inventor builds an android, and the inventor puts the android in a room, and the android attains consciousness, let's say some self-conscious sovereign AI, and this android suddenly awakens. It's in a room, and in the room there are mirrors. And this AI doesn't know that from the other side of the mirror, the inventor is watching the invention and wondering, what did I invent? How good was it? You see, for me, what the religious story is, what the religious paradigm is suggesting, is that an inconceivable creator created a conceivable creation, which in some sense knew the inconceivable. Okay, what I'm trying to tell viewers is that an inconceivable, non-objective, non-subjective, singular moment of causal being from behind every person's eyes is experiencing the effects of multiple realities transitioning. So it's another way of saying, what is moving the idea of you before the idea of you takes ownership of the movement is a field of activity. By the way, if the laptop has 3%, I'm just going to let the whole thing end. Or here, I'll just end it now. 20 minutes is okay. Raging souls at the end of time. The rage comes from an opportunity not used, you know? In this world, what free will is an ability for attention to direct force. In the future, we may have self-automated, self-driving cars. The self-driving car is accessing a massive information database, okay? And so we human beings, even though we have been ushered into the information age, I mean, like way beyond the information age. But I don't know, it's like I have this feeling all human psychology individually seeks to unite with all the unknown variables of its perception. What this means is that we are here to realize that we are unknown beings and that the unknown causally is not unknown. You know, it's when it comes to religion and secularism, it's very fascinating because both contexts are considering that forces are moving the world, but they're not. I mean, if an atheist and theist would both agree that life is like forces moving, but when it comes to what is moving the force, or in accordance to what will is something happening, right? The religious mentality is that it's inconceivable. Like, many people don't understand this about religion. In religious books, it is said that this book is for those who have faith in the unseen. Religion is not a book for those who want knowledge. This is my opinion. I think it's for those who, once they submit their ego, the unknown is their knowledge. Because who is speaking to you right now, dear viewers? Am I my name? Am I my body? Am I the subjects that pass through my eyes, inner eyes? What I am is how the unknown potential of the cosmos is knowing itself. The idea of raging souls at the end of time is the suggestion that at the end of Kali Yuga, the gods will pull the curtains and they will enter Earth. And what I mean by gods, I don't mean it in a polytheistic sense. Many people think that like Vedanta and yogic mysticism is polytheistic, and they think like monotheism is you know, like Abrahamic religions are monotheistic. But in actuality, they all come to how what is looking through the eyes is singularly unknown, is an unknown singularity. Terence McKenna talked about the transcendental object at the end of time, but what's hilarious is that it's not an object. It's when eyes remember the eyes of their world. And that's when the soul's rage turns into the universal ambition, cosmic ambition. Right? My whole thing is I feel the human species is, in some sense, not ambitious enough. You know, we have forgotten the stars, you know. But they stare at us every night. Anyways, thanks for listening. This is the end of the 13% battery lecture. Rise, mankind, rise. Blessings.